Hi, I'm David Tubb. We're here today to talk about the Tubb 700 two-stage trigger designed for Remingtons and most custom actions. It is in all aluminum and or stainless steel with stainless steel springs, so basically it's impervious to rust. It has an adjustment range of about 1 pound to a little over 3.5, as we'll show you a little later. It has an adjustable trigger shoe that moves fore and aft and can be reversed, so you can have a vertical trigger shoe or a curved trigger shoe. The safety actually, when it's engaged, blocks the firing pin, and it comes with the ability to have a right hand safety and or a left hand safety. So if we'll focus in on this trigger, and here are our adjustments. The first adjustment is in the very front. There is a spring plunger that runs in this casting up and down, and it's engaged with an Allen wrench. And if you look right here, you can go right in the front of this trigger. You can see you can run it up or out. Of course, as I said before, it has a 17/7 screw. So I'm going to take this one out. Then we have what we call our second stage adjustment screw, which goes through the trigger bracket, the trigger hanger. That's what this is called, the trigger hanger. That would be the trigger shoe. And this, you can see the angle of that Allen wrench. That screw actually protrudes through. I'm going to move this one out of the way. Protrudes through and touches up here on this angled second stage arm. So when you adjust this Allen head screw, what you're doing is you're actually affecting how much engagement that you are wanting on the second stage. And here, when we look to the rear, are the two sears not engaged at this point in time. Also, when you move this in or out and affect the engagement of the second stage, you also at the same time affect some of the movement of the first stage. So once you have the second stage engagement kind of set as you think it needs to be, then you can fine-tune how it's going to break on the second stage by adjusting this threaded rod that runs this rocker arm up and down. So I will run the rocker arm up and down. You see it moving. It goes up and down. Additionally, this is the rocker arm, and you see how it moves. It goes in, up and down like this. You can adjust this screw and adjust how much the rocker arm engages, or when it engages, this angled second stage sear bar. Of course, the two-stage trigger comes back and stops. A true two-stage trigger is the safest trigger in the world. That being, or the reason being, that the sears are over-engaged until you take up the first stage. So if you'll look here, and I'm not sure that we can get this, but we'll try. You see the two sears are touching right here. If you'll watch this bottom one, when I take up this first stage, it moves downward. See it moving downward? So it comes back, it stops, squeeze the trigger, goes off. Let's talk about the safety a little bit. This is a true blocking safety, so it blocks the firing pin. So if you look at how much this firing pin is protruding now out of the back of this bolt shroud, okay? When I engage this pin, I have to put my finger in front so it kind of blocks it, but notice that this actually comes to the rear when I engage it. It's out further than it was. Now watch when I push it to in, and you'll watch it jump back in. See it move? So it's a very, very good safety. This is how they come basically adjusted from the factory. Two-stage trigger, we send them out where they weigh about 2 pounds. So they'll be 1.5 pounds or something, and in that range, and break on 6 or 8 ounces. So this trigger is 1.10 pounds on that first try, 1.8 pounds on the second try, 1.8 pounds on the third try, and then we'll go ahead and pull it through this time. 1.8 pounds. Broke on 1.12 pounds. Let's do one more. 1.6 pounds, 1.12 pounds. To make that a 2-pound trigger, one would just go in, because it feels good on the second stage, go into this adjustment screw on the front, Turn it in a small amount. Pick this up quickly. I have these pins just kind of pushed in. Now, we should see it change the weight substantially. All right, so there's a £1.08. Change it a couple ounces. Do it one more. £1.11, £1.15. Not quite 2 pounds, but a nice feeling trigger. You can pull it back, doesn't go off on you. The idea behind the 2 stages, you take up the first stage and you don't pull. You take up the first stage, you do not pull through the second stage. Doesn't matter what it weighs, it's how is the sensitivity of your finger. Keep in mind whenever you set one of these triggers, you should do it for cold weather, in my opinion. Good feeling trigger. All right. Now we're going to go to the opposite ends of the spectrum on what you could make this trigger feel like. We were close to 2 pounds on our first one there. Now this one, if you'll notice, has the rocker arm run all the way to the top. And if you'll look, you can see part of the Allen head screw that affects the spring pressure is backed out about, let's say 2 turns, all right? This trigger is going to be a whole lot touchier, per se. Now you come back and see I can easily come back and stop it, okay? But it's still, you watch the sear, it's going up and down. You see the sear movement when I'm moving, gauging? Of course, I'm trying not to fire it. It's set very light. If I was shooting this trigger, I would come up like this, and I can pretty easily feel it. Okay? All right, so I'm going to guess this trigger is going to be less than a pound and break on an ounce or two. Okay, a 1 ounce trigger. So everybody thinking I may not be able to feel the stop here, so I may have to try this a time or two. Stopped on 13 ounces. Feels like it stopped there, 11 and a half. 14. All right, now let's see what it goes off. I bet it's less than a pound, or about a pound. Stop. About a 1 ounce trigger. Pretty light. Not necessarily what I would carry in the field. Stopped at 14, went off at 15.5. I'm only as good. This is only as good as the guy who's running it, and I'm not perfect with it. 14, 15.6. So basically, that's a 2 ounce trigger, okay, if you want to call it such. A safe 2 ounce trigger, okay? A safe one, okay? And why is that? Because it can't go off until you take up the first stage. It will not go off until you take up the first stage. All right. Let's go to the other end of the spectrum. Let's see how heavy we can make one of these T7T 2-stage triggers. Now this trigger is designed to clear debris, by the way. If you go to the T7T debris test, DEBRIS on YouTube, you'll see we froze this trigger, we dumped dirt in this trigger, and we dump powder in this trigger, and it passes each and every time. And the other trigger that we had there failed on the very first one, which was the ice test. Now this trigger is going to be over 3 pounds. And why is that? Because this screw on the bottom here where the spring is, and the plungers run way in. It's got, I'm not going to pull it off, but it's run in several turns. Maybe it was running all the way till it bottomed and we backed it out a turn. So it's got a lot of spring pressure on a plunger here. Secondly, we took and we ran the rocker arm all the way to the bottom. So now when I bump this, I can bump it with impunity. I gotta hit it pretty good. Safety goes on just as easily when it had a lot of weight as the lightweight. It doesn't really make any difference. It just blocks the firing pin. All right, so here we go. First stage is at 2.6, 2.7, 2.4, 2.4. All right, and we'll shoot this trigger. It's time. 2.2. Broke on 3 pounds 8 ounces. All right, let's do that again. Three pounds 11 ounces. Of course, remember, only as good as this feels. There is not that much variation in this trigger to a couple ounces. Of course, it's hard to feel when it's 4 pounds. It's probably having to do where I hit this sear bar and how much of an angle I'm putting on it. Okay, pull. It feels the same to me. Okay, each time. All right, here we go. First stage, 2.8. Broke at 3.6. Good enough trigger for anybody in the field. Very, very safe trigger. And so it's breaking on, what did we say, 2.6? Breaking on 3.6. It's a 1 pound trigger. So who couldn't shoot a 1 pound trigger? Okay. All in all, thing to keep in mind is that this 2-stage trigger is a two-stage trigger is the safest trigger in the world. Look at all the military rifles, the Kriegs, the Springfields, the M1s, the M14s. There is improved geometry on this trigger. This trigger is designed to have the ability to clear debris. So check us out on the web, davidtubb.com. T7T, 2-stage, 700 trigger. Thank you.